Welcome, everybody. My name is Drew Wackerling, and I'm going to be your host here for this first session of our question and answer with some of our speakers that we've had already on stage and some that we haven't heard from yet. This is live. Welcome, everybody who's live streaming with us. And we are on a tight schedule, so let's begin right away with a speaker from our first session. Jelmer Evers. Jelmer's a teacher. Let me ask really quickly a short bio. What made you become a teacher? Why did you become a teacher?
I just wanted to do something practical. I was studying international relations and then did sort of like a postgraduate at a school for international relations, but then I found this is too much paperwork, it's too abstract. I wanted to do something real, and the kids are real, so that's what I combined my love for history with education.
Great.
I found it to be really, really wonderful.
That sounds great. Yeah, it is wonderful. What do you think challenges are right now for teachers at the moment?
Well, at least in the Netherlands, and you can hear it in the press all the time. It's working conditions, time, all those kind of things. We really want to make a change, and I think politicians ask a lot of us, and they want to get there as well. But then you really need to have a really long and hard look how we facilitate that. And that has to do with time. I don't think it has to do that much with money, but how we spend the money, how we have a say in the whole educational system, how we operate. But I think we're way ahead in the Netherlands with awareness than, for example, the United Kingdom. They are still heading in the wrong direction, so to speak, and really in the wrong direction. But we were on the same track like 3 years ago, but we managed to, I think, with lots of different people from all backgrounds, also parents, but also politicians, but also from the inspectorate people, really grasping, I think, what is needed.
And there was a certain awareness, an awakening of sorts. You've got a great idea. We call it the flipping the system. Could you just fill us in quickly on what's that concept? Because it's pretty exciting.
Well,
what you're talking about.
The core idea is that if you really want to have, in Dutch it's called passend onderwijs, so fitting education, looking at the whole child and what is needed for that, you need to have sort of like on-the-ground discretionary power, authority to make sure that happens. And education is never a solitary business, it's a team effort, it's a community effort. So it has to be decided on the ground, and it can't be standardized. So that led us to like the whole belief, and that's backed up with research and different thinkers like Andy Hargreaves and Gert Biesta and some other ones who've already put it into practice in some cases. So it's not some kind of vague philosophical idea. It's research based, and it's also practical. We borrowed stuff from Ontario, from Singapore. There's stuff from places like Colombia, Escuela Nueva, those kind of things. So it's happening all around the globe. But now, if you want, nobody's really managed to put it into like a whole systems approach yet, and I think that's the next step.
Great. That's great. That's very exciting. I want to offer, since we're on a tight schedule, I could talk all afternoon with him. I want to offer anybody in the audience. Did you have a question for Jelmer that he could maybe address for you?
I have a question. Talking about flipping the system, are you willing to give students enough space and time to discuss the learning, the teaching of the teachers?
Yeah, well, that's what we do. I ask feedback from my students all the time. I think that's really important. I give them also their own sort of like discretionary space where they can learn and have a say in it. Lots of people ask, why aren't there students in that pyramid? That's a pedagogical question, and lots of people disagree with that. And what we didn't want was to get into what you would call like the progressive traditional war between teachers, so to speak. That's happening in the UK. They disagree a lot, and they're unwilling to see the other sides of how you can build your educational system as well. And one of the really good things in the Netherlands is that I think all acknowledge that there are different routes to it, and that we shouldn't impose a pedagogical vision on it. And I think your question points towards that we're probably on the same, looking at education in the same way, but I know quite a few teachers who don't. And in some cases, I can see that that is also necessary sometimes for bringing up a child as well. So for me personally, I would answer yes. Would it systemically? No. That's really up to the school as a learning community to decide upon, and with teachers and parents and children. There.
Great. Thank you.
Maybe I can explain. I work in the school library in the center of Amsterdam. I hear pupils talking a lot about what the teacher would have meant. And I see them teaching each other, and I know they can teach each other, for example, 21st century skills. One is better than the other, so I give them space and time to teach one another. And I think there is a lot of possibilities in education for teaching students to students.
Yeah, I agree with formative assessment, peer learning, all those kind of things. I would be careful with 21st century skills because there's nothing really new about those skills. But I agree. For me, that's sound pedagogy. I think for most teachers it is, but still some people do disagree with that, and they've also got some research to back it up as well, and some practical schools which are doing really well and have happy kids as well. So it's education is really plural. There's so many ways you can have a good education, but I would personally I would agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Another kind of somebody up front here.
So, Jelmer, what do you need to make the global education teacher network a success? What do you need from audience?
Well, everybody needs to connect. It is going to happen. So we're already sort of building it behind the scenes, so to speak, with big international organizations, and also with teachers involved as well. So there's nothing out there yet, but it's coming. But of course, the most important thing is that people will engage individually, and if it comes up, if the space is there, then people need to interact with it. And it's going to be a network of networks, so we're going to have lots of international organizations and teacher organizations based on pedagogy or subject knowledge or maybe advocacy. They're going to connect with one another. We've got sort of like 10 organizations already involved. So we're not going to build something new, we're going to connect what's already there, and we're going to create a sort of like an international teacher identity, a global passport, if you will, and also identify all the opportunities that are there and learn from one another. Yeah.
I want to say a big thank you to you, Jelmer, for taking the time to see us. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Good luck.
Jemer Evers.